He has begrudging respect.
Begrudging respect. Yeah.
What you need, Stalker?
You're not Luke Skywalker. You're just some pilot, but we like you anyway. So you want to bring up the yeah. So if you notice, the numbers have changed and things have turned green, and for your side, so there's really he's got to move on, and wipe out one more place, and clear, the Clear Sky guys will own the swamp and be very happy with you.
What's the tipping point of when you control an area?
So if you hit so there's three main objectives in each area, and so right now the last one is to control the road basically to the next zone. We already have their base, and what was the first one? Superiority, which is numbers.
So that's kind of nice. So they have three sort of separate tactical dimensions that you have to accomplish in order to take over an area, besides just killing a lot of the other faction.
Yeah, this is to some extent a sort of reiteration of some of the ideas I mentioned earlier. But there's a distinction that you see in these systems between characters who care about what actions the player takes and those who care about what results the player achieves, right? And this sort of like territorial system, obviously like you have to go out and fight in order to achieve control of an area, but ultimately it's a particular game state that the NPC characters are looking at, right?
And I think that's actually something that we'll likely gravitate towards, in that it's conducive to more player-authored gameplay. If you say, okay, you just want to achieve this state or this outcome, how you achieve the outcome, we don't really care. So if you do it by fighting off all the enemy of the faction you're aligned with, or you do it by bribing them all, or you do it through magic, it doesn't really matter as long as you achieve the goal. And I think that's more conducive to open-ended gameplay than kill 7 of the enemy, or do a particular sequence of actions. So I think that's generally preferable.
One of the first games I remember playing that had factions in it, in a way that I could manipulate, was Wing Commander Privateer. And I think I spent more time playing with the trading sim between the pirates and the Confed than anything else in the game. I guess there's a story in that game. People have told me that. And I don't remember playing around with it at all, other than to open up another area of space, because all I cared about was becoming the richest man in the universe. And I got the best ship pretty early on in the game, and it didn't matter. I just tried to ride this line where I could sell contraband and be a good guy all at the same time. And I did find a sweet spot, but it took a lot of work to stay there. Yeah, well done.
So your story is interesting to me, like in the sense that it raises to me the issue of is the faction system just a means to an end, right? Or is it something that has value in itself as something for the player to play with, right? The idea of like adopting goals within the faction system, like let's see if we can get everybody on my side, or let's see what happens if I do this, or let's work with the system just to try to understand it better, the kind of play that your hardcore gameplay connoisseurs go in for, so they later they're gonna write your hint guides. There's all kinds of levels that people can approach these things on, and the goal to me to some extent, right, is that people care about the faction system for more than as more than just an obstacle to some other element of the game.
Well, I think any of these systems, when they become more of a sandbox that the player can just sort of experiment with and try to see what different outcomes will happen, if they push certain faction dynamics. Tend to be pretty good, and it's not just appealing to hardcore gamers. You look at games like Minecraft, has a lot of that, where it's just very open sandbox play, and you try things out, see what the outcomes might be. I think factions are another space to do that in.
Also, Will is unkind to bears.
Yeah, you're picking on that poor bear. It would have ripped you in half if it had a moment's chance.
You would have thought twice if there were a bear faction.
Or smash it. Yay, loot. Yeah, there's a lot of things in this game that nobody will ever explain to you, which on some level is really cool. I'm a...
I like having a certain amount of that in any game. In that, like, things that the game doesn't necessarily explain to you, but that invite you to create explanations for. Or a lot of the best like online discussions of games, right, are about the questions it raises more than the questions it answers.
One of the things that I loved after working on Thief was going online and reading the stories that people came up about what was going on in the game that we never wrote. Backstories for Cuddy, and like people that like
their rivalry about their houses and such. Really.
right.
What was going on there? Why did they hate each other so much? Like, what had happened that caused all this?
And how many people asked to see the bear pits?
Yep. All about the bears. Maybe it was four. In our case, it was bears. How you doing over there, Will?
One thing that's nice, has nothing to do with factions, is they do have Stalker does have a great sense of place. This is supposed to be Chernobyl some years after. I think the game is set in 2011. But
you don't remember this?
No, I don't. It was well. I remember Chernobyl, not quite this part of it, but no, it's a great sense of place. I mean, the environment and the look is. For a game that came out in 2008 is pretty nice.
One of the things I actually really like about their sense of place is usually when you do post-apocalyptia, it's either an orange, angry sky or dark. And this is actually, there's some storm clouds up there, but it's a normal. Looks like a normal Russian day without the snow.
There's a sense of contrast there, right? Which is very appealing.
If there's ever a Thief 4, it should start in the bear pit. I agree. That'll be level 1. You have to steal the bears.
Well, that's a challenge.
So there are, as I understand it, there are quests that factions will give you. Is that something that we can show, Will? We're going to try to show a faction quest here.
The faction has given you up the top there, capture the approaches path to the outside world. If you click this, it will show you where that is. Alright. If you collect a reward, if you go back here, you'll go back and you probably want to do this because body armor is a good thing. And there is no quick travel, so start walking. It should only take you like a minute. Okay. Yeah. Yes. No breadcrumbs. No compass. Yep. It's amazing on how used to those conventions you get, and then when you don't have them, I'm like, which way am I supposed to go? Oh, I have to actually read the map.
Crutches for gamers.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
I actually shut them off. I'm in the middle of playing GTA 5 right now. I actually shut them off. because after playing this for a week, I'm like, I've actually gotten to enjoy not knowing, right? And in GTA and in this game, you can just get horribly lost.
It is kind of an interesting problem, right? Because you want the players to feel fairly treated, and you want them to have a sense of purpose, know what their goals are, and how to go about achieving them, right? But there's definitely a point at which I've some games which will remain nameless go way beyond that, and I get the sense of like, well, wait a minute, who's playing this game here? Like, if all I'm doing is going where the arrow tells me to go, then what what is that all about?
Clearly, the next step in convenience would be just a button you push and you teleport to where you need to go.
That exists.
You could really simplify the movement controls to just have a one button go in direction of arrow movement button.
Tell me what you guys really think. It's funny, the first time I saw the breadcrumbs effect, and if you guys don't know what that is, that's when you get the little path going to the next destination. Anyway, the first time I saw that, I actually thought it was a bug, and I was actually writing it up and sending it to the developer. Oh, that's a feature. I thought it was a leftover from a development build, right? For QA. Yeah, another thing that this game does is that it's not like, hey, you finish the thing and you magically get your loot. You actually have to go back to home base.
I think it's particularly piquant here that Will because he's on his quest to go get his body armor is led to run into a bunch of angry bears. Oh, the irony! I just want my body armor. No, there will be angry bears.
Be entertaining. Well, I've died at that tower multiple times. I've died on this bridge coming up. Ooh, somebody found the binoculars. Yeah, you have night vision too. Not that it's nighttime. And you throw these. Well done. When you come across anomaly fields, those become very useful. To and I've never tried that, but in anomaly fields, you can find the edges of them, so you don't walk into them and die horrible deaths.
Anomalies were a cool thing in the original stuff. So
They're still here.
I want to experiment with something. That's why I just saved it. Yeah.
He'll care about that.
Oh, is this one of the?
No.
How do you put the gun away? Oh yes. In the original Stalker, the NPCs would actually get angry at you if you held your gun up to them when you approached them and talked to them. I don't know if this
one does that too, but right now you're friendly with this faction.
What is it that you need?
There will become a point that they won't react that way anymore.
What do you want anyway? So, what is it that you need?
So if you talk to this guy, you can get back to your main base. Tell me where you can go. Clear Sky Base. Yeah, they break it up into zones. And now just go find the trader. He's on the other side of the camp, of course. And always hang out and talk to and hang out with the guy who plays guitar, because he's cool.
This is kind of nice in that it gives you a sense of a home base for this faction, and where they're just hanging out, and different feel than a typical shooter where everyone's just always in the middle of combat and shooting things.
That actually reminds me of we've talked about this before, but Chris, having played this game a little bit more, to what extent are factions identifiable by